Good. Oh, I'm just checking if this is working. Yeah, that's it. I'm all wired for sound. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming along to our Community and Place Committee, and welcome to all of our visitors and guest speakers. I don't think we've ever seen the room so full, have we?
Not even full council.
But no, thank you very much. So our first item is we've got public question time. So I think we've got quite a few speakers. So do we have any particular order, Ollie?
No, do you want me to read out some names who are planning to speak?
Yeah, yeah, please.
Yes, I've got David Northey to talk about bus cleaning.
Yeah. Okay, so David, would you like to go?
Yes.
You have 3 minutes.
Do I have to press this?
No, it's
No,
Right, okay, it's on. So good evening, everyone. My name's David Northey. I'm from the Somerset Bus Partnership, so I represent bus users across Somerset, but especially here in Taunton. One thing that people will notice when travelling by bus is the bus stop, bus shelters, and the condition of our bus shelters and bus stops within Taunton. So as the bus partnership, we're starting this weekend. We've got a little experiment going out cleaning bus shelters and bus stops between Wellington and Taunton. And we've got, very fortunately, got First Bus to provide us a bus to take all the volunteers on. And we're running under the Somerset Bus Partnership risk assessment that we carried out, and then we'll be cleaning every bus shelter and every bus stop and engaging with everybody as we go along. But part of this is about a bigger plan, really, to uplift all our bus stops and bus facilities across the town, so that it's something that we can be proud of, really, because at the moment many of them are vandalised, many of them are dirty, they haven't been cleaned for years. And for the first, for anybody using the bus network that has arrived in Taunton, it's a shameful sight, really, and we want to do something about that. And I know that we've worked before in the past and wanting to sort of get as much help as we can. So this will be our first step. Let's see how it goes. We've got the support of luckily our MP and the team there, so we've got a number of bus partnership people coming out. And as I said, we've got First helping us, and I think we've had a few. I think Tom's given us some bits of equipment to help and start that process. We're doing it safely. That's the key thing. We've done the risk assessments, but we want to sort of spread the word, and we'd like to do it more, because there are plenty of bus shelters and bus stops across the town. And if anybody wants to join us, then be more than welcome. Anybody has any questions about it? We do have money. Somerset Council does have money for bus shelters, and we're drawing up a list with Somerset to look at some of our key sites. But this is a start in the right direction, and hopefully it will be good for the community to see something is happening on their doorsteps, when for so long they've been faced with something that's full of graffiti, dirty, probably used for other things other than catching the buses, shall we say. And we want to lift it up and make it a proud asset for the town. So that's just my little sort of introduction and plea at the moment. So
that's brilliant. Thanks ever so much, David. And I believe Kyle, you want to say a few words about the bus shelter item on the agenda?
Yeah, excuse the pun, but you'll get double decker. I'm Kyle, I'm the chair of Taunton LCN. David is part of the public transport working group, and it was something that was really actively discussed in one of our meetings about the state of the bus shelters in the town. And I know that Marcus left the meeting feeling sort of really G'd up and inspired, and sort of said, how could we do something with this? We initially had a plan to try and sort of maybe let's get one or two, like identify one or two and see if we can get some volunteers to clean them, and then hope that would be the spark to say, let's get some more of them done. They look great. I've seen that this is on the agenda for tonight. I commend you guys for taking this on, like really thank you, and I implore you guys to please support it. I think that this would be really, really good for the town. especially like you've got the outer areas as well. It will help bring a little bit more pride of place into the area and hopefully encourage a little bit more bus users as well. People go, oh, that bus stop's nice and shiny and new, maybe I will catch the bus. People are sort of taking care. When you look at the new electric buses that we've got as well, it can only be an improvement and hopefully push a few more people into using the buses in the town. So please support. I'm sure you will. I know that Mark has worked very hard on it, but I implore you, please support it. And if I might be so cheeky as well, I know you've got a packed agenda, so I won't take too much time. I just wanted to say on item 12 as well, the Ward Bever Initiative Scheme, Sam, the resident, he's the one that came to the LCA and presented and sort of has done a lot of campaigning on this. He wasn't able to attend tonight to come and speak, but just wanted to say thank you. And again, please support. I think it's really important that does go ahead. The looking at seeing the feasibility study and stuff. So like, well done to both of you two for supporting him on that, and hopefully that will be able to achieve something really good for the town as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Is there anybody else who wanted to, Councillor Strauss?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say my name is Martin Strauss, currently the Mayor of Taunton. Somerset Bus Partnership, very dear to my heart. I was the first lead when David and John Hassel came in to the loop. When my mayoral year finishes, I would be very interested in working with your LCA working group on public transport. It's very dear to my heart, and I just wanted to say thank you so much, both of you, for all the effort you're putting into this. It's music to my ears.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wants to speak about the bus shelter item? We'll move on. So
Yeah, so I've got Belvedere to talk about the Winterfest.
would you like to
Yes,
3 minutes? Find a microphone.
Okay,
Yeah.
good evening, everybody. My name is Belvedere. I started and the organiser of Winterfest. I understand there are some local traders that think that the light switch on should be on a different day than Winterfest. Started Winterfest about 10 or so years ago. As many people in this room may know, that the light switch on over a few years was going down and it wasn't attracting many people. So Winterfest came along, started it on with the help, very much the help of the council, and we put this event on. Winterfest is by far the best one-day event in the country of a town centre regarding rides and festivals. I understand that some shops do not benefit from Winterfest, and also people come into the town, and when they come into the town, they may not spend money in the shops. A lot of people do not spend money on the rides or the market stalls. But I think what Winterfest does, it shows people what Taunton has got to offer. Many people might not spend money, but they will visit Winterfest and the light switch on and think, what a lovely place this is. Look at the shops, look at this. And I feel, you know, where many town centres are getting run down and they're not getting footfall of people, the Winterfest and the switch on together brings that many people into the town centre. I think that is really good. Obviously, if the two events are separated, some people would like the switch on put on a different day and Winterfest put on a different day. But I think the two help each other. Winterfest wouldn't be half as good without the light switch on. And I don't think the light switch on will be half as good as Winterfest. And as I run Winterfest, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it costs money. But without the light switch on, if Winterfest had to be on its own, I personally do not think it would be financially good enough to run. Winterfest needs the switch on, and I think the switch on needs Winterfest to bring those thousands of people into Taunton on that day. to enjoy themselves and to show what Taunton has got to offer. That's all. Thank you everyone for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I believe we've got Colin and Rob who also want to speak about Christmas lights agenda item. Yes, yeah.
Like for working on it.
Yeah, we've got 3 minutes, Rob.
Lovely, thank you very much. Hi, so I'm Rob. I'm the centre manager of the Orchard Shopping Centre in obviously Taunton. My proposal was very much that we actually review the Christmas light switch on in terms of separating it from the current Winterfest event. And the reason for that is for numerous reasons, really, which I'll go through with you. So the first one is very much around actually helping the shops and the commerce in town to be able to trade. Currently at present, because it's at 6 o'clock on a Sunday evening, Sunday trading laws prohibit all shops pretty much opening and trading at this time. So in order for the actual shops to be able to trade, then obviously if we moved it to a different day, i.e. a Saturday or a Thursday, we would then be able to actually help the commerce within the town, which, as I'm sure many of you know, it's a tough time out there right now for retail and shops. It truly is, with obviously all the ever increasing costs of doing business. Furthermore, in terms of actually the Christmas light switch on, separating it from Winterfest itself, we've been in talks obviously with the police first of all. So Gary Bowden, who actually looks after running events within Taunton itself from Somerset Police, and he very much was in favour of actually separating the two events. And the reason for this is that because there is such a large volume of people that actually attend the Winterfest event, I believe there was actually 9,000 on the footfall cameras this year with MRI, that actually makes policing very, very difficult. And so if they were to separate those events, it would make their life a lot easier. Furthermore, if you remember back in 2024, if you cast your minds back, we had no event in Taunton, which was exceptionally sad because obviously the weather was dreadful. And as we know, the weather, if we all think about the last 38 days, 40 days of rain, yeah, it's not got much better. You know, climate change is actually real and is here right now. And I suppose what I would be suggesting is that we need to look at that, because if we did have two separate events, it's highly improbable we would cancel both events if we do have such weather again. Moving on, I obviously thank you to Ben for his part. I'm a little disappointed in what he said, because when we had a meeting only a couple of months ago with the town council, his view was the reverse around, didn't feel it would affect the Winterfest event, but obviously he's changed his mind since then. And then just to add on, Colin and I have actually been round to all of the business in town. So we sampled over 100 businesses, and actually 96% were overwhelmingly in favour of the separation of the events. So they were very, very clear in their feedback that yes, they feel it should absolutely be separated so that it would help both parties, i.e. we still have a fantastic Winterfest event on a Sunday, but equally then we actually have a Christmas separate light switch on. So it benefits the businesses, but also as well some families that actually have children that are sensitive to sounds, because there are quite a few of them out there. And again, they don't like the fair rise, they don't like the high noise. And so if we did away with that element, you know, on one particular event, but you've still got it on the other, it allows equal choice, which is what we should have. I'm going to hand over to Colin now, if that's all right.
It's 3 minutes for.
There must be blood too.
As chair, you've got discretion to increase.
Yeah, I'll allow it on this occasion. It's 3 minutes. So yeah. So Colin, if you want to speak for 3 minutes.
Thank you. I don't think I'll need 3 minutes. Rob has adequately covered most of the points there. Just the point I wanted to make was that this has not come about overnight. This has been something that's happened over the past few years, where anecdotal evidence to us through businesses in town has been that they don't get any financial benefit from Winterfest being on a Sunday. So they're all in favour of having Winterfest still on a Sunday where it is, so that people can come in and be entertained and enjoy Taunton for what it is. But they'd like to see some benefit for the businesses on the Saturday prior to that. So the lights would already be on when Winterfest took place. So we're talking about having the Saturday lighting up and a week and a day later having the Winterfest. So I think it shows the weight of feeling that we went around the town, and of 115 surveys that were left, we had 103 return. And of those, there were 2 that were against the idea, 2 that were on the fence, and 99 were in favour of splitting the event. So if you want to support the businesses, then we would ask you to look at that evidence, because they really do need the extra business if they can get it. So that's all I need to say. I'll leave that with you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to talk about anything on, or just in general? Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about the light switch on, if I may.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Jason Hayes, resident of Taunton. Thank you, Chair, councillors, for allowing me to speak. First of all, I'd like to represent, I think, a group that's not going to be represented tonight, which is the residents of Taunton. For over many years, I've been involved in the Christmas light switch on, and I've had a front row seat to the event every year, been involved in the stage and everything. I remember large crowds at Taunton light switch on, but I also remember no crowds at all when the event wasn't put on, and how much effort has been put in place with the organisers in making sure the event takes place. The event is a great community event. It's definitely not for everybody's liking, but then no community event in Taunton ever will be for everybody's liking. I like to see the families, children, grandparents all turn out to see the light switch on. We have a celebrity, it's normally the mayor. We could have a better celebrity, no offence. But
Offence taken.
it's what happens. But who is the actual light switch on for? Is it for the families of Taunton? Is it for the people that come out to see the spectacular light switch on, or is it for shopping? Yes, it could be for both, but I think the most important question for you as councillors is to decide what the event is for. I believe there is funds that are issued on behalf of Taunton Town Council, and I believe those funds do come from the residents of Taunton. Unfortunately, I believe Somerset Council doesn't contribute to the event, where unfortunately the business rates go to. Finally, I'd like you to think back to when you last came and saw the light switch on. Hopefully many of you have. If not, could you please vote for your residents and do what they want for the event? I think that's the most important. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak that's not already on the agenda? Yes.
So we've got representatives from the Pont Collective that may want to speak during public participation, but
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. So we are the Pont Collective. We are here to talk to you. I know you're considering they're taking decisions around the youth services review today. So we are the Pont Collective. We are a small Cardiff-based consultancy. We have 3 directors and a network of associates. Claire and I are directors, and Tamsin's unfortunately couldn't be here this evening. We've worked with different levels of government, the wider public sector, the third sector, but the majority of our work has been community-based, community-led, and has involved participatory research, evaluation and policy support, and an awful lot of stakeholder engagement. And I think one thing with that experience we have managed to develop is, you know, we can talk to different audiences. We are sort of skilled in that and have that experience. And I think the other thing to point out is that all the people that we work with, particularly our core team, we're interchangeable. We have those same skills, so that there isn't an issue, there isn't a worry around capacity. And I think the participatory research is the point really, and why we were so excited to bid for this technology, because I think we believe, you know, when you are looking at services and access to services, the people who use those services are the most important people to speak to. And I think often people can be consulted to death and suffer with a sort of consultation fatigue. But I think if they are the drivers of that research and that consultation, I think you can have a very different result. And I think that we believe with our main focus in our work being on participatory research, to actually put the young people within the, in the driving seats of this review. They have networks that, as adults we just don't have, and I think they talk the same language as their peers. And I think it's important when we're doing work like this, not only to, to ask them what they want, what they don't have access to now, but actually for them to be the consultant within their own peer group. And we know this is, this is something we know that is a key priority of yours. You've done a lot of work around it already, and I think we wouldn't want to be seeking to duplicate any work that has already been done, and we would want to link up with all the networks and all the key players already and the organisations already. But as I say, I think, we would base our work around lived experience, young people conducting the research themselves. We're very, we're obviously very, we think that safeguarding is very important. So you will have seen what we've written about that in our bid. But really, I think we're just really excited to potentially have the opportunity to help you make this really important change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah. So if there are no more things, we'll move on to the official business of the meeting. So first of all, do we have any apologies, Ollie?
No, Chair. Councillor O'Donnell may be late, but
Yeah.
it's planned to attend.
Thank you. Yeah. Do we have any declarations of interest on the items on the agenda? Okay, thank you. So moving on to the forward plan. Have we all had a chance to have a look at the forward plan? Oh, minutes. I was getting ahead of myself, aren't I? So minutes. Have we all had a chance to look at the minutes? Are we all happy that they are a true and accurate record? In that case, can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Pollard and seconder, Councillor Ellis. All those in favour? I confirm that votes carried. Thank you. Sign those later. Oh, now the forward plan. We all had a chance to look at the forward plan for next couple of meetings. Obviously, we've got a really item packed meeting for this evening, and I think at the moment March is probably looking at quite a heavy one as well. Any questions about the forward plan? So we're just being asked to note. So can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Pollard and a seconder, Councillor Strauss. All those in favour? Thank you. That's very done. You made it. And relax. Our next item is the update from the chairs of working groups. So hopefully you've seen the transcriptions that were circulated from the minutes by Ollie. Obviously, because we've got quite a tight schedule, has anybody got any questions about those, anything on those at all, or anything to update on any of the working groups? Are we all happy to move on? Yeah, okay, thank you. And that also goes from that. So local policing, have we got Sharon? Is Sharon joining us?
No, unfortunately, I didn't hear back from Sharon, but I've got the questions that were sent in, so I'll send them over to her and get a response.
That's brilliant. Thanks ever so much for that. Thank you. Okay, so I've moved the agenda around a little bit to give the people that have come in to come in for specific items. So I've moved them around a bit. So instead of the appointment of youth services, we're going to have a Christmas light switch on proposal as the next agenda item. And so I'd like to hand over to Craig to deliver the report for us.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, councillors. So on behalf of the Town Centre Culture and Events Officer. I'm presenting the Christmas light switch on proposal to you this evening. So you would have seen the detail within the report and the options that you are presented with this evening. But just in summary, the report reviews the feedback from public surveys over 2024 and 2025, identifying business engagement and operational experience of delivering Winterfest and the Christmas light switch on together. It recognises mixed public opinion on whether the events should remain combined or be delivered separately, and sets out 2 clear options for members to consider. So option 1 is to continue with the current combined event, which means that Winterfest and the Christmas light switch on continue to take place together on a single day, as they have done in recent years. The event would remain on the Sunday. For 2026, this would mean the combined event would take place on Sunday, the 22nd of November. Thank you. And so some of the key benefits that I would just like to highlight here. So it maintains strong and reliable footfall for Winterfest, significantly increasing attendance compared to historic standalone switch-on events. Preserves the established Christmas in Taunton brand, which is well recognised by residents, visitors and businesses. Supports the ongoing viability of Winterfest, which relies on switch-on to attract the crowds and the market traders. So a key consideration, independent businesses may still choose whether or not to open on a Sunday, as they're not governed by the same Sunday trading laws as some of the larger national chains. Some public and business feedback suggests that interest in a Saturday can offer a more flexible approach. The option 2 is to separate the events. What this means is that Winterfest and the Christmas light switch on will take place on different dates, potentially as highlighted by some of our speakers, a week apart. The switch on could be held on a Saturday, responding to some of the survey and business feedback that we've heard tonight. And some of the potential benefits of the separation: a standalone switch on could be calmer and more accessible, particularly for families or older residents or those with forms of disabilities. 2 separate events could help spread the footfall, reducing crowding and build that seasonal momentum. Some of the challenges could be that actually it also has the opposite effect of that. It could reduce the attendance for the big switch on event. We've also heard that Winterfest may become unviable if we were to separate those events. I think I can keep it there, but I'm open to any questions. Thank you. Thanks, councillors.
Yeah, thank you. And obviously we are being asked as a committee to look at those recommendations about those options. But I think it's important that we look at this carefully. We need to balance the needs of the businesses and the needs of residents. And we've had some really good points that from public speaking. And you know, we've got to look at this carefully, make sure that we come and arrive at the correct decision. Councillor Ellis.
Yeah, I'm strongly in favour of option 1. I think Winterfest is absolutely brilliant, and I think it's that combination of having Winterfest and the light switch on. I'm an avid attender of the event. I see so many different people that I know from all parts of Taunton, all different walks of life. It's got a great buzz. I attend most of it. I'm fortunate. I live close to town, so I can zoom in, and then if I need to go and have a lie down, I can just zoom in again. I do shop at the same time, actually. If you're open, I'll go shopping you, because I run an event on Monday and need supplies, so I take my trolley with me. But I think it's brilliant because you've got so much. It's a really good combination. You've got the fantastic fun fair and rides, which the kids just absolutely adore. You've got the stalls with all the artisan goods and stuff. You've got normally Taunton's Got Talent. You've got then the Brew House came last year and did like a preview of their show. You've got loads of different community arts groups, so like kids showing off their dance moves. There is that opportunity for lots of different community groups to get involved. you've got the Taunton line dancers, you've got performers, you've got different areas. So Go Create last year did a lovely free session where kids could make low cost, you know, Christmas presents, and that was really popular. It's a brilliant event, and I'm just, if you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of thing. And I just really worry what would happen if you split it. And I don't want to think about it. And I think, yes, it is primarily for our residents and for the town. I think that people will shop. If there's shops open, you're going to dive in and grab what you need, aren't you? But I just think it's an absolutely brilliant event, and I wouldn't want to do anything that would jeopardise that. You know, we obviously also want to support massively our independent traders, especially, and Winterfest obviously kicks off a season, so there's a lot of investment by the council in the free parking on the 2 Saturdays up to Christmas, which is directly about getting footfall in to support our independent traders especially. And then we've got all the street entertainment as well, which also kind of fits in with that and supports that as well. We've got the lovely carols around the bandstand, so that's like a different vibe. I absolutely adore that as well. You know, Christmas to me, it needs Winterfest, carols, and we have the street entertainment, we have the Taunton independent markets, the evening markets, and then, you know, and then we have the Brewhouse show, and it's all super exciting. And Winterfest is that for me kicks it all off. It's huge, it is exciting, there is that buzz, because there's so many people there. It's like it feels like, if it's only 9,000, I'd be shocked. I just felt like there was like, you know, all of Taunton there, and the countdown, and it's like, I can't imagine doing something like a different day where there's like not many people. It's like, you know, 10, 9, 8. No, it's exciting, it's big. So I'm just really worried about losing it. But on the other hand, I definitely want, you know, if there's anything else that we could do to support our independent traders in the run up to Christmas, let's do it. I mean, anyway, I think what you ought to do is have like a guide to all the different independent shops that gets handed out at the, say, the independent market, and events like that, community events, so that we're always making sure people are aware that we've got these fantastic stalls in town. So there's probably lots else we could do, but I don't think splitting Winterfest and Light Switch on, I think it would just be way too risky. I think it's brilliant. Congratulations, Ben, to put on an amazing event. It's just got that really good community connection. So many different people are involved, and I just don't want to mess with it. I really don't.
Thank you. Any other thing? Councillor Strauss.
Thank you, Chair. I'm in a very difficult position. I've just come back from the Showman's Guild annual event, where the people who put on our event in Taunton and did such a wonderful job last year, and I pay you credit for that, are very grateful for the support they get from local authorities, and they do bring business into towns. Let's not forget that. I do think they do. I also am passionately interested in local traders. I always have been, always will be, and continue to give my support. One of the things that we haven't really discussed is whether we have the 2 events on the same day but on a Saturday. Would that actually be a better option? Because at the moment we're talking about either splitting the 2 events or having the event on a Sunday. Is that a possibility? We could do that? Is that something we should discuss?
Right, can I hand over to you just to about the traffic side of the
Yeah.
TROs and the consequences of closing the road on Saturday?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So, and I think as part of our kind of like, we've had a couple of Christmas meetings with some of the businesses. We've also identified whether actually having the event on the Saturday would actually be viable. What we recognise is that closing, for something like Winterfest to happen on a Saturday, you would have to have those roads closed all day on a Saturday, and that does cause more of a logistical challenge with deliveries. We know the businesses are busy on Saturday, they like their deliveries. Historically, we've had quite a lot of feedback when we've had other events close the road on a Saturday, where businesses have been up in arms to say it's one of our busiest trading days of the week. We don't really want the roads closed on a Saturday. From a health and safety police perspective, they do have some concerns with potentially Winterfest being held on a Saturday, because Taunton has, you know, a nighttime economy, a night culture. There would be increased risk of antisocial behaviour issues. There'd be more pressure on the policing department. So understanding that has led to the decision that Winterfest wouldn't be able to take place on a Saturday.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you.
Also, the decision really is, do we split it? And the Winterfest has to be held on a Sunday, that's what it's.
Yeah.
Effectively.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. So I think in that case, we're probably ready to go towards actually voting for either option 1 or option 2. But I think I'd just like to add that, and thank you for Councillor Ellis, she's pretty much said what I was going to add to it as well, is that we do, of course, we work with the businesses, we offer free parking, we offer the Christmas tree entertainment on the Saturdays. That brings people in on those Saturdays, so there is that opportunity for people to come and do their shopping. If there's something going on in Taunton, if I'm coming in for one event, then I'll nip in, do my shopping, and it's almost, you know, you're doing 2 things at once. So, you know, I do empathise with what the businesses have said. However, we are here for our residents, and obviously it's about for the residents as well. So with that in mind, we will vote on each one separately. So all those in favour of option 1, which is to continue with the current combined event. All those against. Any abstentions? 1 abstention. I think that votes. So that's 5, 4, 1 abstention. And for option 2, all those in favour, which is separating the events and providing delegated authority to the head community in place to progress with investigating an alternative switch on event for the Christmas lights. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? 1. That's it, yeah. So I think the option 1 is carried. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. So with that, we'll move on to next item, which is access. It's
Yeah, the recommendation on the chair, if you read it, is that members of the public not be excluded from the discussion, but it's just to take care when discussing the event.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're looking at it. It was item 7, so it's the access. So we're talking about the appointment of youth services contractor. There are confidential appendices, but hopefully you've read those beforehand. If we need to talk about anything on those confidential appendices, we will have to suspend standing orders, but hopefully we won't have to do that, and we can just discuss the report that we've got before us. Are we all happy? Yeah, okay, so we're happy. So I'd like to hand over to Tilly, who's going to talk to us about the appointment decision for the youth tender.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. So, councillors will remember on the 27th of May 2025, members were asked to approve the Young People Working Group recommendation to appoint a youth provision service consultant. As no delegation authority was gained to appoint, this item returns to committee to approve the appointment of this provider. Following a competitive tender process, the Pont Collective scored the highest against the criteria set out in tender specification. Scoring was undertaken by the head of community in place, 2 officers from the community in place team, and Councillor Pollard. The proposal from the Pont Collective is available in Appendix 1. And the scoring form, which details the scores of all proposals, is available in Appendix 2. The Pont Collective have kindly given us an introduction to their proposal at the start of the session, and are available for any questions. The budget approved for this project was £50,000 in October 2025, and the Pont Collective have provided a fixed cost of £37,500 excluding VAT. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for the Pont Collective? Obviously, we can talk about some things. It could be generic questions, but nothing that's too much in detail of the actual tender. Councillor Ellis.
Yeah, slap me if I go into territory I'm not meant to. I mean, I don't know. No, I think, yeah, so I've read your approach sounds really exciting, actually. So yeah, it sounds amazing. I'm just sort of thinking, obviously, what's going to be key for you is getting in at the grassroots and getting those connections, isn't it? Because it's going to rely on people getting in with, you know, YMCA, Somerset Youth, all, you know, all those people in order for, you know, so you can access and find out, you know, which young people would like to be part of this and stuff. And I don't know, obviously the time frame as well, I think we'll have to, in the thing, it was assuming it had already started, but obviously we're now in the end of February. So just a question for you guys about how you're going to approach that, getting you know, sort of ingrained with the sort of the networks, youth networks of Taunton. I love your approach. I love the idea of doing the participatory approach. This is where I might stray into. I did sort of think that when I read your thing, oh, this is really exciting. I thought, oh, is there not a local whatever who's applied? But we didn't get any local youth whatever's applying, so actually that would have been my only, like, if there's somebody who already knows all this, so you'll have a job of work there, but I'm sure people will be very collaborative. So I just, any comments about how you'll do that, because that's obviously key, would be great. But otherwise I think, you know, very exciting.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. So yes, I think that's just a sort of generic question about working in partnership with local agencies, I think. And if you want to sort of read, would you like to respond to that?
I think it's something, I mean, Claire, you can come in. I mean, it's something we're experienced in doing because, as I said, most of the work we've done, it has been community led, and I think you have to take a certain approach when you are dealing with organisations at that community level. And I think we've had very good relationships with local authorities who have helped us do that, and particular councillors who have made youth services their priority. But I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add, Claire, but it's, what I'm saying is we are, without sort of sounding big-headed, we are experienced in the approach that you need to take when you are trying to get into these sometimes hard to reach organisations.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, the honest answer is we will lean in heavily to the existing partnership that we've seen already exists here. So I think we're building on, hopefully, some really good work that's happened over the time. So hopefully there are some willing partners that will help us. The timeline is really important. The timeline that we put in the first proposal was really squished. I've been trying to think of a better word, but it was really squished because we were thinking that we might be able to support the budget setting process, but we can't, and in a way that's great. So we are more than happy to do the same work for the same amount of money, but over a longer period, which gives us a bit more time to make sure that we really build those relationships at grassroots level, to make sure that we can bring on board community researchers, peer researchers, youth researchers from a disparate group of people, because that's really important that you get a representative group at that first stage, because they're the ones who've got the networks in, and that can advise us about where to go, how to do it, what our methodology should be. So hopefully that answers your question.
Any other questions? So let's move to the recommendations and to the vote. So we're being asked to approve, and we'll take these two together. To approve the appointment of the Pond Collective as a successful contractor to deliver the youth services review at £37,500, which excludes VAT, and delegating the authority to the clerk to formalise the terms and conditions and sign the contract. I'd like to propose this, and I have a seconder, please. Councillor Pollard, and all those in favour. That's carried. Thanks, Ollie. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. See you again.
Thank you, David. Okay, so let's move on to our next item, which is these Somerset Artworks, Violence Against the Women and Girls. And I'd like to hand over to Bryony to talk to us about this.
you very much, Chair. Good evening, everyone. Everyone's leaving now. This is great. Thank you.
Corner right at the side.
I know, yeah. This report asks the committee to approve 2 initiatives aimed at preventing violence against women and girls in Taunton. And these would be partly funded through a grant that we've received from Avon and Somerset Police, and the remainder would be coming from our community safety budget. So the first initiative is the Her Ground, which is a creative community-based project for Lingford Park, led by Somerset Artworks, which has got the vision of bringing together local women and girls for workshops to create some positive, colourful signage for us to display, and hopefully try and make those areas feel a bit safer and more welcoming. And that project cost is £3,000. And then the second initiative is the distribution of free personal alarms, particularly for women and girls in response to recent concerns around safety in the Prizewood area. I have included an appendix of the specification for the alarms, and they would be available through Prizewood Library. We've worked with Somerset Council around this initiative, so they've been involved throughout, and they've actually expressed an interest in using our approach to kind of pilot something that they might want to look at expanding on this across all of their libraries. But we are proposing an initial allocation of £1,000 to start off with on that one. So both initiatives are being presented together just because they're so closely aligned, but you'll see that on the recommendations that I've kept them separate so that members can consider each on its own merit. And just as it might be a relevant update, we've also used some of the funding from Avon and Somerset Police to apply for our White Ribbon accreditation, which was the Personnel Committee approved back in February. And for anyone who's less familiar with it, the White Ribbon is a national charity which is focused on ending violence against women and girls. So that leaves us around £900 from that grant funding available for these initiatives. Happy to take any questions. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you, Bryony. It sounds a really good initiative. And yes, so Councillor Garside.
I just wanted to know about the alarms, how would they be monitored, so I think you can't just let everyone loose with an alarm, so I was just wondering about that.
Yeah, so it's a good question. I met with, I'm going to struggle to think of the lady's name now, one of the ladies who works out of Prizewood Library, because I understand they've got quite limited opening hours. So we discussed some of the perimeters around who they would be supplied to. There would be windows of time that they're supplied as opposed to being able to go in and request them at any time. And she said the library staff would be quite happy to sort of vet people that would be coming in order to get them. But yeah, appreciate, and that is one of the risks that we've highlighted, is there is always going to be potential for misuse on them, unfortunately. But the technology is freely available to people that want to abuse it already, so hopefully it's not going to make it worse.
Councillor Ellis.
Yeah, no, I strongly support this. I'm very familiar with the Her Ground project. I think it's brilliant. I think Somerset Artworks are brilliant. They're really kind of embedded, aren't they, with the community, and they do such great work there. I think it's awesome. The alarm thing, yeah, I think it's worth trying. I'm just curious, did it come from people saying, oh, we don't feel safe here, and what we would really need is a personal alarm, or did we just kind of put 2 and 2 together and think, oh, well, why don't we try giving people personal alarms? I'm just curious how that came back.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. So I reached out, this was before Christmas, to a couple of stakeholders in that community. So the Wagon Pub was another person that we reached out to. Unfortunately, we didn't hear back, and looked into what other organisations are doing around the country just to see what options are available to us. It is very much a trial. Put my hands up and say I don't know how it's going to work out, and hence I think that's why we've been quite limited with the funding that we've committed to it to start off with. But yeah, no, it wasn't as a result of any consultation.
Any further questions? Councillor Pollard.
How are we and the library going about making people aware that they'll be able to actually get these alarms at the library?
So we're going to be doing some comms on our social media, as well as possibly including it in things like our notice board publications and newsletter drops and things like that.
Further questions? Yes, O'Donnell.
Yes, I was just going to ask, what's the age range that you're handing them out to?
And there is no
Eight to eight.
any.
Actually, exactly like them. Yeah, I wondered that. I've got my dinosaur to protect. Are we all ready? Are we all ready to go to the vote? Okay. So we're being asked to approve the funding of signage to further progress her grand project in partnership with Sunset Artworks, and approve the purchase and distribution of Minder personal alarms as specified. Are we happy to take these two together? Can I have a proposer? Councillor Pollard. Second, Councillor Ellis. All those in favour? Thank you. That's carried. Before we move on to the next one, I've got a point of order that's been pointed out by Ollie. We didn't have a proposer and a seconder for the vote on the Christmas lights. It's not going to make any difference to what we actually voted on, but just for just for the purposes of governance. I have a proposer to approve option 1 to continue the current combined. Councillor Ellis and seconder Councillor Pollard. And and all those in favour? Thank you. Is that all right, Ollie? My apologies. Moving on now to our grants policy changes. That's Will, again in the corner.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so this regards a scheme of delegation change to be noted. The specific changes are so that the scheme of delegation change to the Women's Initiative Scheme applications and town twinning grant applications will be heard at the grants committees. This will be done to better streamline the grants process, as those funding opportunities have now come under the grants and sponsorship policy. So essentially, this will tie all that, make sure that all grants are heard in one place at one committee, and streamline it and avoid any confusion of dates, etc., and when people could hear back. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's this. Quite a straightforward change. Any questions for Will? Councillor Strauss and then Councillor Ennis.
Just a point of information, Councillor O'Donnell and myself are meeting with Will very shortly to clarify the procedures regarding town twinning, so nothing falls through the cracks.
Thank you. And that's noted. Councillor Ennis.
Yeah, no, I've got no issue with that at all. I just wondered, do we have a timetable yet for next year? Because we've got a lot of different grants committees going to be doing quite a lot. I'm just really keen that we have like regular, meetings, so that if you come up with an idea before you lose the will to live, you can actually get it on an agenda. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just concerned about the, having enough meetings with enough frequency.
I believe it will go to full council, the calendar for all committees for next municipal year. I believe the plan is to make grants committee bi-monthly to accommodate this, so that then there's more frequent meetings.
Thanks, Will. Thank you. Again, we're just being asked to note, we still need a proposer for this one. Yeah, okay. So I'll propose this, that we're noting from the next municipal year, 26-27, a change to the scheme of delegation for the Ward Members Initiative Scheme applications to be heard at the Grants Committee, and that we're noting a change to the scheme of delegation for town twinning grant applications to be also heard at the Grants Committee. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Strauss, and all those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. And sticking with the grants, and we've got the first of our ward members' initiative scheme applications. The first one is from Councillor Deane, and over to you, Will.
Yeah, thank you very much. So this is a application made by Councillor Deane for £764 to purchase a new bin, which will be located in Blackthorn Pocket Park. This park is not one that we own and control. However, we have sought permissions from Somerset Council to install this, which they are happy with. The officer preference for the bin is the same one that aligns with the bins that are installed in our parks. It will be libraried with our town council logo. There is sufficient budget within this, within Councillor Deakin's Ward Members Initiative Scheme pot to facilitate this request. So I shall open that up to any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. That's you all right, Councillor Strauss?
Need more water.
Have you got a drink? I've got some water. Okay. Thank you. And just a quick question for me. I'm guessing that it's the big black bins, that the multi-purpose bins that we've got in all our parks.
Yeah, that's correct. It's the multi-purpose, I believe, that manufacturers Brock's at. It would be that bin that's in the same as one of our parks.
Yeah, that's it. Brock's that. But yeah, it's just like the big black bins. Any questions about the bin? Oh, Councillor O'Donnell.
Yes, I'm glad to have that town logo on it. That's very nice. But it's not in an area that we control, is it? So it will still be emptied by Somerset Council.
I will see clarity on that.
So I would hate for Somerset Council to come along and see a Taunton peacock on it. Oh, that's not our bin. So I do think we do need to make sure that Somerset Council are.
Marcus.
Okay, if I just jump in, Chair, sorry.
Absolutely.
We're not setting precedent here. We have upgraded bins that in the former Safe Road area that are on street that I do rarely empty in on behalf of Somerset Council, but they are stamped with our delivery because we as a town council funded the upgrade of the actual assets. It's the same principle as I understand for this one. We wouldn't be adopting or assuming responsibilities for that park as part of this.
Not empty.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thanks for that that clarification, Marcus.
I obviously support this. It's a no-brainer. I'm just putting flagging up that I've got residents who would like that pathetically tiny bin in Wood Street car park, which is forever. It's just a mess. It's just forever. There's stuff strewn about, and I'm told that Somerset Council say it's perfectly adequate for the size of car park. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. So unless we've got budget, we can do it out of our budget, whatever budget it is. I might be after one. So presumably this is a simple matter because we know how much the damn things cost. We just have to get permission from Somerset Council to install it and stuff. It will be that relatively straightforward, potentially.
I believe so. It's just a matter of contacting the relevant person at Somerset Council and making sure that permissions are done, and then should they allow it to happen, we can get it done as long as there's sufficient budget in the members' budget.
Okay, thank you.
So a point of interest, if, for example, we wanted to put in a bus shelter where there isn't one at the moment, would we be able to do that under WIMS?
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Because I can give you a classic example. In my ward in Lesia Way, there's a bus shelter and a seat outside the YMCA, but opposite there isn't. And you have to wait a while for a bus, and you can get drenched. There's nowhere to sit. So it would be quite useful to have a parallel shelter.
I think if we approach Somerset Council, who are the responsible authority for that, and get relevant permissions to install that, we should be able to facilitate through the Ward Members Initiative Scheme budget.
It's a shame David Northey has gone. It's a shame David Northey has gone, because you'll find that many bus shelters have different people responsible. I'm sure Marcus will echo this. Sometimes it's the county council, sometimes the town council, sometimes it's somebody completely different. So there is a strong precedent for different people putting in bus shelters. But thank you. If you could ask the question, well, I'd be very grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for raising that, Councillor Strauss. So I'm sure Will or Marcus or whoever will come back to you after
Thank you.
the meeting. And I have a proposer, Councillor Pollard, and a seconder, Councillor Garside. All those in favour that we are supporting this. Thank you. Moving on to the next application, which is for both Councillor Garside and myself, and that's for the feasibility study for the speeding on Trawl Road. I think, you know, this is a really worthwhile cause. Over to Will, just to introduce us to this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So this concerns the request of up to, well, a potential of £25,000 using both the combined Water Owners Initiative scheme budgets for Manor and Tangier and Wilton and Sherford, of which there is £5,591.92 and £4,713.72 respectively, totaling £10,305.64. And then the additional budget requested is for a maximum of £14,694.36, which brings the total to £25,000 for a enhanced feasibility study on Trawl Road from for frequent requests, frequent notes by the public for speeding. This was raised at a LCN on the 7th of 7th, 2025, and has significant community consultation towards it. The site area is on the rotation for speed indicator devices, and they have regularly recorded speeds up to in excess of 75 miles an hour. Potential risks identified on this are that there may potentially be a lack of funding to follow through on the request, depending on what the feasibility study finds. But Somerset Council said they didn't have sufficient budget to facilitate the feasibility study. So it depends on what that brings as to how that might be funded moving forwards. But beyond that, I will open it up to any questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for that, Will. And I think it's really important because obviously both Councillor Goss, both Vanessa and myself, we met with residents when they were taking the young people to school at Parkfield. So we had a chat with them, and obviously I've had a couple of residents who live at the top also meet with me as well about the speeding issues that are up and down there. And I believe that Somerset Council potentially have some money, extra money somewhere for cycle routes and walking routes and so on and so forth, which this potentially could come under. I think the stumbling block, obviously, if we can prove through the feasibility study that this is needed, it strengthens the argument for using some of that money. Councillor Ellis and Councillor Garside.
Of course, I strongly support it because I remember when Dan came and raised it with us first. So yeah, absolutely. There is, I mean, the risk for me is not so much. Ideally, they do the feasibility study, and even if they come up with something expensive, as long as it's actually addressing the issue, then I think we have to just somehow try and make it happen. What sense do you get from them? Because they don't have the best attitude, if I may put it like this, to road safety. They are in the dark ages, right? Everyone else in the world has like understood like fundamental basic things about road safety, like, you know, like 20 is plenty. These people are like slavishly misinterpreting Department for Transport guidance. You know, so I'm very wary of them. We have to do this because otherwise we can't get anywhere. You'd have to do it. But what is your sense? Do you get the sense from them that they're not just going to go, well, we all looked into it and it's all perfectly fine because there's no dead bodies lying in the road? Do you think they're going to kind of like do a serious job on it?
I can't answer that. I think the only thing I can think is that we have to try, and I know that, you know, when we were talking about the A38 reducing the speed limit, they were quite happy to talk and interact and sort of, you know, reduce those speed limits. So obviously there is that negotiation, I think, there. And I think, you know, a lot of traffic issues, I believe that, you know, there has to be an accident black spot. There will be an accident because it's a major crossing for children and young people going across that road to school. So, and the crossing there is inadequate at the best of times. It's even inadequate for people with pushchairs, wheelchairs, anything crossing that road. There is no safe route across that road at all. And I think, you know, if we can strengthen that argument, you know, both through us, the town council, through the LCN, I think, you know, we can try, and I think it's about that standing up for what our residents want. Councillor Garsland.
Yeah, I just like to emphasise that this is extremely dangerous, this road. It's a road right outside my house, and it is so difficult to cross. You take your life in your hands. You can't really see around the corner because it's a curved road. You don't know what's coming. You could easily get run over. I really dread having to cross that road, let alone if I were a parent with children. And yeah, they say, well, there's a little funny island in the middle, but this is inadequate. It's, you know, because get to the island first. I mean, that's the first difficulty, and then you take your life in your hands again, getting to the other side. And people speed up there, they roar up that hill. My neighbour regularly complains to me that his children are kept awake all night because of motorcycles racing up the hill. You know, it really is a very, very dangerous road, and something needs to be done.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? No. I'd like to propose for this one, so we can that's it. I proposed it and Councillor Pollard has seconded it. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Our last WINS application is from Councillor Smith-Roberts. Over to you, Will.
Thank you, Chair. So yeah, this concerns a £750 application from Councillor Smith-Roberts to Lizzie Away Community Group to run a weekly coffee morning aimed at reducing isolation and loneliness. I believe that this has started and been ongoing for quite some time, and it's a small group that has expanded and now is up to 30 people in attendance from the local community. They do various events to tackle loneliness and isolation, such as particularly events around Christmas and things like that. I believe Councillor Smith-Roberts reached out on Facebook for ideas and for local groups within the area, that this was one that came back to facilitate in terms of budget and things like that. There's sufficient budget to facilitate this request. So I shall open it up to any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Again, I think it is, as Councillor Ellis would say, it's a no-brainer. So, I mean, if we're all happy, I'm happy to go straight to the vote. So can I have a proposer? Councillor Pollard and a seconder. Councillor Garside, all those in favour? And that's carried. Thank you. Thanks for those, Will. So, again, Chair's shuffled the agenda about a little bit. So we are going to look at, this is where I need to sort myself out now. No, I'm just going to move a couple. I'm moving a couple in front first. Okay. Yeah. So it's let's go with the Shared Roots Community Initiative, because again, it's there's a grant side of this. That's why I've moved them, because obviously we've got Will here. So Tilly, would you like to introduce this for us?
Yeah. As part of Taunton Town Council's Town Sanctuary Strategy and Action Plan 2025-2028, the council has secured a SAL Community Health and Wellbeing Grant. Of the activities that have taken place so far, there is £7,470 remaining to deliver work against this grant. This is made up of £5,000 of match funding that the council put towards the grant, as well as £2,470 of the money from the grant itself. This report proposes a shared routes community initiative event, which is made up of two components. The first is a 1-day big share event, which is focused around bringing together refugees and asylum seekers in our community, giving them a welcoming event with cultural food sharing and celebrating diverse communities and connecting attendees with local supporting organisations. So at this event, we would like to invite partners who run local activities or programmes, as well as have translators available to support local refugees and asylum seekers getting involved in activities that take place around Taunton. Second part of this proposal is a community activities programme. So following the 1-day event where refugees and asylum seekers will have an opportunity to sign up for an event, the rest of the funding will go towards funding a 4-week programme enabling refugees and asylum seekers to access existing groups, activities, cultural venues, and take part in things that perhaps they wouldn't have been able to before due to financial or cultural barriers, which will encourage long-term engagement. The 1-day event is proposed to take place on Saturday, the 18th of April, between 11 and 3. The community activities programme has been designed to ensure that there are activities for a range of different groups. So there is events targeting new parents and pregnant women, early years, young people, adults with availability on both weekday and weekends, as well as elderly refugees and refugees with disabilities and health needs, to ensure everyone. As I mentioned before, the funding for this will come from the EMR 347 £5,000, as well as the £2,470 remaining from the grant funding. And subject to interest and sign-ups to the community activities programme, we anticipate that this full budget will be spent and allocated. It is noted that the £5,000 that is had in an email will need to be recommended to full council to release this money to be able to spend on this initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tilly. Thank you. Any questions for Tilly on this one? That's still done.
Can I just ask, because when we put in a bid for South, part of the £5,000 match funding that you agreed to give initially, I think something that we did. I seem to remember some point we did something. Funding. So this is additional 5,000 is it from the original that we matched.
So
yeah, so that is the initial match funding that went towards it. So we put in £40,000 worth of match funding. And this is £5,000 that was held for this purpose.
Right. Okay. But that originally went to full council in the first place, didn't it?
yeah, Tim. So yes, it went to full council, but as per our financial regulations, we've been advised by the RFO that to release that money to spend, it now needs to be recommended so that we can utilise the funds.
Well, I would very much endorse this event. I think it's part of our town of sanctuary strategy. We've been working hard. That money, we've used that money to develop training courses and CARIS and the other refugee charities working with them. I've put in a lot of work, and I think this is just a one way of now just finalising. We have to spend that rest of our grant money, otherwise it just gets returned. And I think this is a very good event just to really push the strategy, trying to ensure that those coming to our town seeking sanctuary, are being made to feel welcome, and actually, but not just welcome, but being enabled to join in with our cultural activities. I think that's the important thing about this. It's not just about coming here and finding safety. It's about coming here and being able to live your life and being part of the community. And that's what we're really hoping to try and achieve with this, that those seeking sanctuary here, seeking asylum, are seeking us as a community they wish to live with.
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Solomon. Any other comments? Councillor Ennis.
Yeah, I was just wondering, and presumably, like, it's not going to be us delivering it. There's presumably Charis or whoever. There's like people already. There's been a long discussion, and they're like, "Hey, we could do this. We could lay on this," because it's not very long. It's not very far to go. So if you were doing this, like coming to this completely cold, and just thinking in less than 2 months we are going to have this, and it's just we'll ask people if they can help, then I'm like, ooh, is that going to work? But if this is a stemmed out of discussions and ongoing work, and those partners are already lined up to deliver it, then that's obviously more reassuring.
So it's very much being led by Caris and TWR and Raft. They work in conjunction together.
Yeah, point of order. Tim, would you like to? Tim.
Just to clarify, thank you, Councillor O'Donnell and Councillor Ellis. So the partners that Councillor O'Donnell mentioned will be heavily involved, and we have worked with them to ensure that they can support and work. But just for clarity in terms of resourcing, this is being coordinated and managed by our town culture and events officer. There has been preliminary work to line up appropriate partners for community activities, but it will be primarily managed and resourced in terms of coordination internally. We have on an operational side ensured that there is plenty of time to make sure this stays to deliver that work.
Just to, yeah.
Is that means that Charis is on board, Raft is on board, everybody's on board, so it's not like, yeah, okay, cool.
By the way, it's Caris.
Oh, C.
It's that.
C8.
That hard chat.
Councillor Garstein.
Yes, I just wanted to know because many asylum seekers have said that they seek more contact with with English people who are living here, and also they would require opportunities to find help with things like job applications, contracts for accommodation, all those kinds of I don't know, legal and practical things, and sometimes they find that very difficult, to fill out a job application, for example, and just to live your life and make ends meet. They're finding that quite difficult. And is there any, I know this isn't event for this, but what's available for them in the town now?
Yeah.
Well, Caris is doing a wonderful job. The TWR providing English lessons, conversational English lessons. Caris themselves, they do help with that process. They're a cafe without borders. It's very much a way. It's being people working, making the coffee, working behind the bar. Refugees that they're looking after, so they're giving them work experience, they're giving them confidence to engage with the wider public, and it's been very successful. And there are many people at Caris with particular skills and professional skills that are helping with that kind of items that you're talking about. Looking for work, filling in forms, assessing the needs they want.
Yeah, thank you.
And I just wanted to ask, particularly, there are quite a few with very, very high qualifications, with university degrees, and they would like to find a proper job, so, and working in a cafe doesn't do it for them, so they would really, really value help with applying, job applications and trying to get just, as I say, just to fit in with British society, because they came here thinking this war was going to last maybe a couple of months, and it's now gone on for years. and they were expecting to go back after maybe 3 months. And they're still here, you know, but I mean, the good news is that they seem to like Taunton, so.
Thank you, and I think that's raised an interesting discussion. It's good that you can take notes from this and actually feed it back to Karis. Things. Thank you, thanks, Councillor Gossack. Councillor Strauss.
This isn't mutually exclusive. If you've got somebody who's coming over to this country in those circumstances to work for a few months in that cafe in that friendly environment, it will improve their use of English and their people skills, and that doesn't preclude them applying for more specialist work, more in line with their knowledge and experience. So I still think it's a very valuable opportunity.
Thank you.
It's not a long time.
Thank you. So if we're happy, we can move on to looking at those recommendations. I'll take them both together. We're being asked to approve the shared routes event and initiative with delegated authority to community and place manager to deliver with up to a spend of £2,470 from sanctuary refugee events and activities budget, and to place into an EMR for use in the new financial year, and to recommend to the full council use of £5,000 from the EMR grant match funding for delivery of this initiative with delegated authority to the community and place manager to deliver. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Pollard, and a seconder. Councillor O'Donnell. All those in favour? Yeah, and that's carried. Thank you very much. So staying with Tilly, we've just got 2 more things. I'm just taking advantage of the fact that Will's here. So we're going to look at the rain gardens and the swales project item on the agenda. And again, that's Tilly.
On the 2nd of December 2025, a report came to the committee where it was resolved that a brief would be distributed to consultants to obtain quotes for the installation of rain gardens and swales in some of Taunton's green spaces. This item now returns to committee with quotes having been received. The committee is asked to review the favoured quote and approve a budget of £24,870 from the climate and ecological budget to facilitate its delivery. Some key points to be aware of. So firstly, the consultants that replied to the specification suggested that the project should be split into 2 phases. Firstly, a feasibility study to understand whether the areas proposed are suitable, then followed by a second phase of on-site delivery based on the designs created during that feasibility study. It should be noted that until this first feasibility phase is complete, it's not possible to obtain an accurate quote for the delivery phase of the project, as it be site specific and based on a number of factors. In terms of funding this project, councillors should note that the RFO has agreed in accordance with section 4.4 of the financial regulations to carry forward any unspent budget from the climate and the ecological budget line funds at the end of the year end into an EMR to use on this project next financial year, provided that the indicative budget equals or exceeds the remaining funds and a contract has been signed prior to the end of the financial year. Some of this underspent budget from the climate budget line will be from the previously approved UTCF engagement. Earlier this year, £4,000 was approved to spend on engagement with young people for the UTCF project. However, this project needs to be reviewed to undertake further engagement with schools and local groups and revisit the viability of approaches. This will therefore free up £4,000 of expenditure for active projects, and therefore will make up some of the underspend that will go towards funding this project. In addition, officers were asked to look into potential grant opportunities for this project. Whilst it was initially thought that grant funding could be sought for phase 1 of the project from the Somerset River Authority, this fund does not accept applications for feasibility studies. This avenue can be explored for phase 2 as there are further application windows in May, August and November 2026, with another in February 2027. However, this fund will only be able to facilitate projects costing less than £20,000 total. Attached to this report is appendices with the West Country Rivers Trust proposal value of 24,870 to undertake phase 1, which is the feasibility for the rain gardens and swale project for you to review. Finally, it's highlighted as a key risk for this project that at this time we are looking at the feasibility. And so it's important to note that it is possible that the feasibility study will show findings that the project is not suitable or viable, and thus the council will be unable to proceed with phase 2. However, this is only classed as an amber level risk. Thank you.
Thank you, Tilly. Thank you. Any questions on this? Yeah, Councillor Ellis.
Not really a question because I am familiar with this project and I think we should just crack on with it. I think it's highly unlikely we wouldn't find somewhere that was suitable for rain garden and swales. And just looking at the recent experiences, I mean, just like Frenchweir, I mean, they were absolutely inundated in the recent rains, for example. So I'd be very surprised if they couldn't identify some good places for this, and it's vital to our watermark town status. And I just think it's let's just crack on with it.
Thank you. Any other questions? So if we're happy, we can move to the vote. So,
Sorry.
Councillor Dunn.
Yes, because I'm just noticing one of the report references that we can't go to the SRA for funding for the feasibility. I'm hoping that once the feasibility comes up with a plan, we should be able to go to the SRA and inquire for funding. Now that I noticed was in the reasons to approve at the top, 1.13, but it's not in the recommendations at the bottom. But it comes as a note 2 on the. So I'm wondering which resolutions we're going by.
Bottom should be.
Yeah, usually the ones at the bottom are.
But the ones at the bottom, unless I complete. Unless on the question of the town council, we need to go back to the quotation and set a separate budget. There's no mention in the ones at the bottom about seeking grant funding, whereas there's a point 2 to note that from the completion of phase 1 of the project, Taunton Town Council need to go back to the quotation process. Hang on this. Yes.
Oh, do you want to come back to you on that one? Tilly, thank you very much, Chair. On this occasion, would it be possible to vote on the reasons and purpose at the top of the report? This amendment was made close to the deadline, and so I think it was just a slight oversight, so apologies.
So we are looking at top.
Yes, I seem to remember we have to vote to allow the officers to apply for grant funding. Yes, which is what I thought was one of the recommendations we were going to put in.
The delegated authority to explore
to apply for grant funding. So we can't just simply get our feasibility and go, oh, that sounds good, let's go and apply for it. So we got to resolve the officers to apply.
Tilly.
Thank you. Under the reasons/purpose for the report section, point 1.1.3 is delegation authority the financial resilience officer to explore and apply for potential grant funding for phase 2. So if possible, could we please vote on the reason and purpose section as opposed to recommendation section?
And does those 3 cover everything we need to do?
Yes. Thank you.
Might have
to amend the recommendations.
Yeah.
Vote on.
Yes, because I mean, if it's possible for us to be able to get this paid for by a grant, I think it'd be good. I was then.
Yeah, because we've also. Because in that top bit,
wait,
1 to 3, we've got nothing in there about the utilising the Urban Tree Foundation.
It is 1.3. No, 1.3 is the
Pages change. Oh, I see. So it's actually a long rest. Sorry.
it's very.
There we go. It's a long one. So yeah, 1.3 to approve reallocation.
Right.
4,000.
So it's all of that.
Yes. I wasn't there a minute ago. It was there.
So are we, councillors having a look at the reason purpose for the report? So it's looking at the top bit of the report, and we are looking to vote and recommend those ones to 1 to 3 as opposed to the ones at the end. So Ollie, do I need to take a vote to
amend those? Yeah, the ones and the reason and purpose.
Okay. So
I've got that now.
I have no idea.
You're in decisions, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm in decision.
Yeah, that's where I'm in decisions. So can I have a proposer that we don't take the recommendations at 9, but in turn we take the recommendations at 1.1 to 1.3, is that right? Yeah. So can I, I'll propose it that we don't take the recommendations from 9.1 to 9.2, but in fact we actually do 1.1 to 1.3 at the top of the report. And I have a seconder. That's right, on all those in favour. Yeah. Okay, so now we'll come on to the vote. So we need to approve. Are you happy for me to read them all, or are you happy that I don't need to read them all out? To read them out. Are you going to
change?
Thanks, Nick. See. Oh, so we're being asked to approve that £24,870 of the total budget to proceed with phase 1 of the Rain Garden and Swales project to be covered from 25-26 and the 26-27 climate and ecological budget. To appoint West Country Rivers Trust to the value of £24,870 to undertake that phase 1 feasibility of the Rain Gardens and Swales project, and delegated authority to the Financial Resilience Officer to explore and apply for potential grant funding of phase 2 of the project. And I think we will take these separately. So can I have a proposer? Councillor Pollard. And a seconder? Councillor O'Donnell. All those in favour? Carried, thank you. So we're being asked to note at 1.2 that upon completion of phase 1 of the project, Taunton Town Council will need to go back through the quotation process and set a separate budget for phase 2 delivery of the project. The RFO has agreed, in accordance with section 4.4 of the financial regulations, to carry forward unspent budget from the climate budget funds at the year end in an EMR for use on this project next financial year, provided the indicative project budget equals or exceeds the remaining funds and a contract has been signed. And if the agreed project budget is less than the remaining climate budget, any surplus will be returned to the general reserve at year end. I'm happy to propose that we note that. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Pollard. All those in favour? It's carried. And then finally, 1.3, to approve the reallocation of £4,000 of the Urban Tree Community Fund engagement previously agreed for the 25-26 climate budget to come instead out of the 26-27 climate budget due to a need for more time to undertake engagement with schools and local groups and revisit approaches, and therefore freeing up the £4,000 for expenditure on actual projects this year. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Pollard, seconder, Councillor Strauss. All those in favour? Thank you, and that's carried. Phew.
Yes, that was a difficult one.
Phew. All right,
That's
so,
a proposal to
I know.
the feasibility study, find out how much it's going to cost, apply for grant from the SRA.
So staying on the climate and ecological theme, I wanted to look at the wildflower project. Again, that's Tilly. We've got Will available if we need to think about the grant funding. Tilly.
Thank you, Chair. On 4th of September 2025, the Community in Place Committee approved the expenditure of up to £25,000 from the climate budget to deliver a wildflower recovery strategy. At the same time, it was agreed to apply for an additional £20,000 from the National Lottery Heritage Funding Nature Grant. I'm pleased to announce that the Council was successful in securing this additional £20,000. Since this committee in September, the project has gone out to tender. Applicants were asked to submit an application. An application was received from the Bumblebee Conservation Trust. It should be noted that although they were the only proposer, their submission was comprehensive and fulfilled all of the design objectives of the project. They can also demonstrate previous case studies where they have delivered similar projects for both towns and cities. On reviewing the proposal, the £45,000 option presented in that proposal offers a high value for money and significant investment into the community engagement and wildflower corridor delivery. Therefore, recommended that following the successful grant outcome, the £45,000 proposal should be selected. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? I think it's a reasonably straightforward approval for this one. Again, I'm happy to propose that we approve the delegated authority of the clerk, deputy clerk, to appoint the Bumblebee Conservation Trust for their £45,000 proposal to deliver the wildflower recovery strategy. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Ellis. All those in favour? And that's carried. Thank you. Your place. So I think that's it. So now we can come on to the Shout About Taunton presentation. Delighted to welcome Sam and Hatched. And over to you, Sam.
Okay, councillors, thank you very much for having me here this evening. There are some slides. I don't know if they're going to be up on the screen, but either they've been shared with you or they'll be followed afterwards if not. So I just wanted to actually just come back as we're 2 and a bit months into the campaign now to remind of the brief really, which was to promote Taunton as a lively, welcoming town for visitors, locals and prospective investors through a consistent year-round digital campaign. And that would also be to have some support when required from physical materials that showcase everything that we have to offer. We've actually been commissioned purely on a monthly retainer purely for social. We did do our first physical stuff around the Christmas campaign in the rotundas, so hopefully you saw some of that. And what I'm here to do this evening is to just share with you where we are. These are the January results. But when we first got the brief against which we were appointed, there were 3 metrics in there to hit by the end of the 12-month contracted period. Well, I'm delighted to say that we've already exceeded 2 of those. 2.5 reporting months in, and these are really significant ones because these are around views, and they're not in this presentation because it's hot off the press, breaking news. But these are around views, this is people seeing our content and not just seeing it, flicking past it, but the second metric is around people viewing it for 3 seconds or more. And this is important because this means that people, individuals, are engaging with viewing our content, watching it, taking it on board. So as at the 8th of September, which is when the brief was put together, there were over a 90-day period, the previous 90 days, there were 254,000 views. The stretch goal was to achieve 331,000 views over a 90-day period. As of today, we've just hit 401,000, so that's a 56% increase on where we were, which is well above the 30% stretch goal. In terms of 30-second views, so that's people pausing, taking a bit longer to consume content, not just flick past it. Both of these metrics are on Facebook, by the way, because Instagram was very new to Visit Taunton at that point. There were 1,000 3-second views at that point, now 10,500. So that's a 950% increase. And the higher stretch goal was to achieve 80,000. So I think, overall, I would say that 2.5 reporting months in, 3 months of actual content in, this is a really positive picture. People across Taunton and also the surrounding areas, it's a good mix. Most people, I think about half of the people who are interacting and following are from Taunton, but we're reaching the surrounding areas too. People are really engaging with the content that we're putting out there. And it's not just that we've, as Hatched Agency, have taken the brief and run with it. We've had amazing partnership from Craig and his team, and also the Taunton Visitor Centre team, to put that brief into action, to come up with the strategy, the tone of voice, the branding, the creatives, the design. At every stage that has been signed off and approved by the council team. So a big thank you to everybody who's been so supportive, and the positive feedback that we've had, not just from the team, but also some of the businesses and organisations that have been here tonight and who've contributed content as well. On to the next page, please. So why this looks different. Because we have a strategy and a plan, and we've got Shout About Taunton as a theme, we're able to be much more consistent and strategic, and also audience focused than before. Before, it was sort of a mix of different posts that were quite off the cuff, without having a theme that ran through it. So having some stronger storytelling, video and insight-led content. We also dive into the numbers to understand when people best view content, and we've got some interesting comparisons with posts that we've done versus posts that have been done by the Visit Taunton team, just to show that that knowledge and that insight is actually driving greater engagement. And engagement and conversion is really important, and conversation is really important, because those are now the metrics that Facebook in particular cherish when boosting you up the algorithms. Where we've got a lot of positive engagement. I think if you dive into the posts that we've got on there, people are contributing their thoughts. We've tested some posts that we thought maybe would be a bit contentious, calling out some businesses in town and asking people to share their views. It's all been really, really positive. So there is a good demand for the content that is going out. And we are turning that visibility not just into likes and follows and views, but into page visits. So people are now actively coming to the Visit Taunton Instagram and Facebook pages to consume our content, which is a really, really positive thing. And that's where sort of having a joined up insight-led campaign has really hopefully delivered what you will agree are some positive results. Over the page, please. I'm not going to go too much into this because I know obviously we are very pushed for time on the agenda, and hopefully you'll have time to digest this afterwards. But we've got high visibility, strong engagement, noticeable follower growth, and we're reaching a wide audience in the Taunton area and the surrounding area, both of followers and non-followers. And that's really important because, yes, followers are important because they're more likely to see your content, and they're the people who are coming to our pages. But also reaching people who don't actively follow you is great as well, because that's where you start to build that ripple effect of becoming better known and really getting out there to more people all of the fantastic things that Taunton is and does and has to offer. Key takeaways really from what we've learned 2.5 reporting months in is that we're pushing out content at the right time to get that engagement. The hashtag strategy that we're using, so the hashtag words that we use under the posts are reaching people beyond followers. That's a lot of the time how that helps. We've got a lot of new on the ground content. Unfortunately, there was a huge, lovely hard drive of content that we inherited that was corrupted. We couldn't get most of it. January's wet weather really did not help with going out and capturing some great content. But the content that we did capture live is really, really working. Facebook remains a really powerful channel, and Instagram, you know, is newer than Facebook, but is actually really starting to catch up in terms of that engagement. Over the slide, please. So this is, we've taken a view 1st of January to 20th of February, you know, looking what we've achieved this year, because Christmas campaign is obviously a bit of a different beast. From the 1st of January, it's all been about Shout About Taunton content. So I wanted to show that we're reaching far beyond just our followers, which is a really, really key metric for the positive response for this campaign. 236,000 views, but you know, over half of those are from our non-followers. So we are reaching people who aren't yet following us, getting our content out there beyond that sort of following community, which is a really important thing to achieve. Over the page, please. And this is for January results. This is a year-on-year comparison to January last year. We're a bit nervous about January because it's not the most uplifting month for most people, and the theme of the month was actually trying to find some joy in January and going out and giving things that do a bit of good for you mentally, physically, spiritually. And the great news is, I mean, the numbers are up there to see, but across the board in terms of our core metrics that we report on, page visits, so people coming to the page, new followers, views and interactions, we're up significantly year on year. So in terms of intent, people actually actively coming to the page for content, we're, you know, 100% uplift on previous years. New followers, so we're growing that loyal base of people who are going to see our content more regularly. Views are up, so we've more than tripled year on year where we are in terms of people seeing our content, and also the interactions. We've got consistent, steady interactions across the month. And as I say, it's really, really positive in nature. So people are not just liking and seeing, but they're commenting, and they're commenting in a really positive way. Over the page, please. In terms of performance, this is where we are at January at a glance. I won't over-egg this because we've touched on some of this before. Over the slide, please. In terms of content highlights, this is really great because hopefully it gives you a feel for what people are responding to the most. We spent some time with the fantastic team at the Museum of Somerset, and we've been drip feeding a lot of the content out there around half term, but also more generally getting out and about. And we also had Best Roast in Taunton. That unsurprisingly probably did really, really well. So those were our two top performing posts, both in terms of people viewing them, interacting positively with them, and liking, sharing, and so on. But it was also really lovely to see that posts featuring Taunton's history and heritage. So we did actually manage to get out there in our waders and walk the heritage trail. We'd have to swim the Tone Walk at the moment, but hopefully that's coming up over the next few weeks. But getting out there, winter walks, experiencing all that Taunton has to offer on the ground, also drove really strong engagement and visibility. And over the page, please. We did a couple of comparisons of posts that went out on the same day. The Hatch team, working with the team at the council, one of our posts that went out last Friday was Love Your Pet Day. This was time to go out at a time that we know works really, really well for this kind of post. Then there was a separate post that went out by the Visit Taunton team on the same day at 12 noon. But you can see the comparison just there in terms of the reach. We achieved 76% more views, and the likes, comments, shares and follower growth as a result were higher as well. And on this following page as well, which was Saturday, 21st of February, we actually did a post about the visitor centre because that's a fantastic on the ground resource. We know that there are conversations happening about where it's located, but the team do an absolutely amazing job. And then there was a bit more of a niche one from the visitor centre team on the a football video. But again, you know, we're getting the likes and the reach because over the previous 2.5-3 months, we've really got to know how the Taunton community and the wider surrounding area community interact with the Visit Taunton Instagram and Facebook pages. We've worked out what works, what to post when, and how to message it, how to visually deliver it, and the hashtags to use to make sure that we deliver best value for the council, because we know that you have invested and put a lot of trust in us for this campaign. So as I say, over the page where the strategy is paying off, you know, we've got an accelerated audience growth, new followers year on year up almost 50%. We've got really great traction with people seeing our site. So they are finding out everything that Taunton has to offer, what's going on, events, activities. You know, we are showcasing local organisations and shops, but that's not all we're doing. We're showcasing heritage, culture, activities, and so on. And the engagement is really strengthened. And as I say, this is a really key metric for us continuing to have, if you like, almost Facebook's help to boost that, because they look at good engagement as a reason to lift your posts up the algorithm. And that's definitely, you know, people are not just seeing content, they're interacting with it, positively interacting and starting conversations. So I think, you know, the feeling amongst Hatch team and with the team is that the strategy has been, you know, really positive and validated there. So in summary, January was a strong start to the year. It was the first full month of the Shout About Taunton campaign, because obviously we'd jumped in and sprinted to support Christmas before that. You know, I think the strategic focus and the strong visual theme and steady follower growth is really positive. Despite January typically being a bit of a low month, we've actually managed to get some really great engagement for the town, continuing to build it as a destination activity. And I think this delivers a really strong foundation for everything that we're looking to do going forward. And keeping that engagement post-Christmas, I think, was a real win. We've got an interesting month planned for March. It's a bit of a dual split. From a people perspective, we're looking to target families and people planning trips over Easter and into summer, because, you know, now we're coming out of hopefully the hideous weather, people start to think about holidays. So we want to get ahead of that. And showcase Taunton as somewhere to come and spend some time without having to schlep up or down the M5. And secondly, this will be really new for the Visit Taunton channels, is that we're looking to target businesses and demonstrate Taunton as a great place to either start, build, or relocate your business. And that's not just retail. Retail will be one part of it, but any business that's looking for a vibrant community to grow with people, you know, ready to work, great locations for you to work. And this is hopefully going to be a really positive spin on, you know, concerns about having open spaces on the high street. It's not about saying there are open spaces. It's about saying Taunton is a great place to build and grow your business. So hopefully with your continued support, we've got lots more positive things to come. It's been a delight working with the team. We're really pleased with where we're at, and hopefully you are too. That's me.
Sam, that's really good. I'm just conscious of the time. In about 5 minutes, I'll have to suspend standing orders, and then we'll extend the meeting. Can we do that now? Yeah, so if we extend the meeting so initially, if we do it till 9:15, see how we get on. Are we happy? Can I have a proposer that we extend it till 9:15? Councillor Strauss and a seconder. I'm looking at you, Nick. Councillor McDonald. All those in favour? Thank you. And also, I think, are we asking questions of Sam while she's here?
Yeah, there's opportunity for questions. We've got Craig on the call as well.
Yeah.
So if there are any questions in terms of the statistics or any questions, do you want to present to Hatch while Samantha's here, please?
Yeah. So has anybody got any questions they'd like to ask? Councillor Goss,
Yeah, I'd just like to ask, you know, how you target different age groups, because the demographic in Taunton are attracted to very different things. I know that young families, you know, are very interested in some things, whereas young people, teenagers, are not interested in that at all, and so on and so forth. So have you really thought about, you know, the audience you're targeting?
Absolutely. I mean, some of that is obviously driven by the platforms themselves. Facebook now tends to be an older platform, social media platform, Instagram more for your kind of 20s through to 40s. And I would say straight off that social media is not the silver bullet, right? It's never going to reach everybody for everything all the time. It's just part of the picture of all the great things that the council does. But obviously the content is key. So the messages that we're putting out, the things that we're promoting. So for example, when we went back, looking back at what we did in the run up to Valentine's Day, we had, you know, we ran a poll about what different people wanted to do, trying to engage different people. It's not just about your sort of young lovebirds. It might be people who like to go to the museum by themselves and use it as a culture day. So we do try through the content, the organisations that we pair up with, to do as broad a possible strategy to engage as many people as possible, but on the basis that our retainer is solely focused on digital, that is unfortunately going to naturally exclude some people who don't play in that space or can't play in that space. So we do what we can with the content.
Thanks so much, Sam. I was just wondering how it works on a sort of day-to-day basis. Do you have agree with the team here, right, January we're going to do this, February we're going to do that, March we're going to do this, and then you can just crack on and do it. You don't have to there's nothing you don't have to get every single thing that you. I've just imagined every post through. Every single post has to be approved.
That's what we do is we actually do a quarterly plan. So back in end of November, we did a 3-month strategy for January, February, March in terms of we started with the strategic themes for each month and what some of the supporting pillars for that would be. We then shared that with the team, got approval for that. We then built out the next layer of how that would look and the kind of organisations we could work with, got approval for that, and then we started reaching out to businesses to get their involvement and got approval for that, and then we go and we draft and get approval for that. So there is a check at every, but I think given the work that we do, given that we are not the only people posting, given that we're posting on behalf of the council, I mean, and I would say that Craig and his team, you've got Craig and Craig on the screen, are fantastic partners. We've got into a really great rhythm in terms of how we work together. We are clear and honest at all times. You know, because we schedule so far ahead, it means that we've got content ready to go. It's not holding anybody up, and we've just got into a rhythm that certainly works for us, and I think works for the team as well.
I just wanted to know how you choose the partners that you work with, because you said you did you work with the museum. So how do you go about choosing these partners?
Great question. It's been a bit, so some of it has been as a result of introductions that we've had from the Visit Taunton team in the visitor centre. Some of it has been through people working more widely with the team who very kindly put us in touch, like Robert Orchard Shopping Centre and so on. We've also put posts out there asking for businesses to get in touch with us if they want to be involved. So as they've come in and said, we've got this that we'd like to put. So for example, as part of Christmas and also for half term push, if there were places doing special things for families over the half term period, we got their offers or promotions or their activities in, we run them past the team to check that they're happy for us to include those, and we push them out. But we are always desperate for more businesses to get involved. So if you, with all of your contacts, can help, we would really love that and appreciate that.
Thanks, Sam.
What about charities and arts and culture organisations?
So we've done some work with the theatre in town, including them in some of our campaigns. We have got, and I've got a real brain moment, the other arts centre that that we're talking to about included. We've got some content for them on their future promotions. I mean, Taunton has such an incredible cultural centre. We'd love to do more of that. So again, any help that you can give to connect us to people who have things going on would be great.
Any other questions before we move on to Craig report? Okay. Thank you. So thank you.
Are you ready for me now, Chair?
So, yes, so our next one again is Shout About Taunton, and it's a report from Craig to consider options for destination marketing in Taunton. Handing over to you, Craig.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies for not being there in person, and apologies if I cough because of my chest infection, or given the late hour, my daughter burst in. She has been sat quietly, but now she's got chocolate on her face and is wearing a princess dress somehow. But we're here. So I think Sam covered a lot of the ground about Shout About Taunton for us. We commenced 13th of October with the signing of the contract and went quickly into that Shop, Sip, Sparkle campaign. I think it's been fair to say there has been some negative comments coming, particularly from our political leadership, about some of the content. I myself think that would be the early reliance on stock photos as we tried to access that hard drive that was mentioned, and as we built those connections with the community, with the business owners who were willing to get involved and get in front of camera for us. I think while we rushed to do that Christmas campaign, it was difficult to get that content. We'll speak in a few moments about other plans to get in better high quality photos for Taunton, but at the moment Hatch is doing a great job of getting that organic content out and about the town. So I think as Sam says, we've worked on that contract management process. I think there was a bit of an issue earlier on with the getting content approved in time, and that allowed one or two posts to come through. I think that was a picture of a pub that doesn't exist anymore, but we have straightened it out, and I now get those final sign-offs 1 week in advance, so I think something like that wouldn't be able to happen again. As I say, Hatch been working with those local organisations. I think one thing Sam kind of touched on, but maybe missed him when we were trying to find out these content. Sometimes we're being a bit provocative and trying to make people jealous. If we highlight one cafe, one business that has got involved, the idea is if someone gets annoyed that they're not part of it, they are now triggered to come to us, even after we've already reached out through Chamber of Commerce, we've reached out online already. So hopefully we'll start getting more and more people in as this campaign grows and grows. So what we are asking from councillors today is a steer on how you want to proceed with this project. Are you happy with this focus on the social media aspect? I will highlight we do have a budget, I think roughly £3,500 to £4,000 left to spend on physical assets alongside this. Or option two, to refocus intentionally on physical assets with no social media activity, or the final option, exercise our right to end the contract and look to the Tourism Innovation League to bring forward a proposal that is a more comprehensive destination management strategy. none of these options would have a new financial impact on the council. It's all using the same budget, and any ecological or environmental impacts are the same as the original report. I'd hand it over to you guys now for questions.
Thanks, Craig. I'd like to sort of start questions. When you talk about in option 2 about the physical assets only, could you explain a little bit more about what you mean by physical assets?
So your other options would be a focus on brochures, leaflets, poster campaigns about the town and about surrounding areas. My personal preference is to continue with a social media campaign and augment our physical offering. But yeah, that's up for you guys to decide.
Councillor Ellis.
Yeah, I mean, I really like your presentation, thank you. And I have started noticing stuff. I mean, I'm very busy, but I noticed you did that really nice, there was a heritage trail video, everyone went mad for that. And that fits into sort of, the whole thing about we need people to understand their history more and cherish it. So the engagement with that's like very useful message, for feedback for us that people do like that. And we do need to be pursuing that. So I think this is early days, because I think you had Shop 6 Sparkle, then we had Soggy January, the I kind of feel like we haven't seen all that you can do yet. And we were going to try this for a year, wasn't it? A year? Yeah. I want to see where this goes. So you've shown some impressive sort of metrics and stuff. And I think, you're bound to have issues at the beginning, whatever, hither and thither. I mean, it's tough, like having to pre-plan everything, get the content lined up, and then you've got to get everything okay. And it's like, oh my God, that would totally do my head in completely. So I want to see where this goes, let's see what it does. We've got some positive metrics shown. So we've got a good relationship going. I've started to notice it. I mean, ideally this would be part of somebody's visit. I don't know whose day job, but I mean, obviously the realities of social media and how you kind of, that isn't going to happen. So the idea that you would just switch this off and go back to what before, no, absolutely not. I do think we need to think about, what physical assets do we need? Like, I don't even know, has the visitor guide online been updated yet? It was out of date, wasn't it? I can't remember. I keep on meaning to check.
The visitor guide.
Yeah, that was on
has not been updated
yet. Right. Okay, that needs sorting like yesterday. And things like as well, like I think I saw this on a Susie post actually. She was out and about at some other place or whatever and said, oh, look at this market. They've got like I mentioned this in the earlier item about the guide to all the independent stores at their market, and that I don't know, there's probably other things we should be doing, but I don't want to switch this off. I feel like, it's only just getting started, and let's see what it can do. Really?
Yeah, and I mean, for me, I think it'd be nice to have that combination, because I noticed that, the physical things about the, the maps.
Yeah.
And I think, there's been a visitor booklet, and I think it comes up time and time again about having a visitor guide in a paper copy that the visitor centre could hand out for people, sort of like a proper visitor guide for in paper, because not everybody focuses on, I know that online and using your mobile phones is a thing, but sometimes a paper copy is really useful, and I'd like to see sort of, some ideas around that paper copy, and I think it's come up in different conversations with different organisations about having that. So, and it may be that we sort of have a mix of, the social media plus the physical assets as well. Vanessa,
yeah, I was just going to say that, people who come into the town as visitors tend to want to have a paper copy that they can take back with them. I mean, I'm just going by, I can explain my visitors who come and visit me, but also that group who came from all over the world to visit Taunton last September, and they said, where is your information about Taunton? There isn't much here. And in fact, the photographer sent me photographs that we could use because he thought the photographs weren't very good.
We've got something coming up on the agenda about photos too.
We do.
Councillor Ellis.
Oh, sorry, I was muttering that under my breath. I was muttering about Craig, you need to hand over all your photos. Craig Stone photography. What a great photographer in our midst.
Any other questions for Craig or for Sam about this? Oh, yes.
So I'm hoping this will carry on, and then in, I don't know, another 3 months, 2 months, 3 months, you can come back. It'd be nice to hear how it's gone, and you know, and how what, because we don't see all the figures behind the doodahs. I could look and think, oh blimey, that one got 8,000, that video got 8,000 views. That to me, I think, no, that's really good. I don't know, and I also don't understand, you know, what's behind it, the engagement stuff. So it's really useful to have that insight. Sorry, I've got a mouthful of candy kept on.
Delighted to come back. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, and I mean, I'm looking at the recommendations and I'm just wondering whether we can perhaps amend about sort of continuing with the current approach, but just maybe add into that again with the putting something in there about the physical assets within that, and also to come back to committee again in 3 months' time, as Councillor Ellis suggested, so we can review what's happening and make any suggestions. How does that sound?
Can I suggest that part of the destination report includes extra money for physical access for destination marketing? So I don't know if you want to wait till that one to add to that recommendation then.
Okay.
So well, under option 1, Craig, you put tightening contract management to improve performance. Can you expand on that a little bit?
To be honest, I think that's mostly what we've already been focusing on, and it is that getting that 1 week to review our post beforehand. The only other thing I thought about during all this is, I think, Caroline, as you all know, identifying our brand, our story has been a big question for us recently, along with Town and Culture. And I think that work coming together as well can really feed into this, and it's maybe been a bit of what's missing from us doing this from the start.
Is that something you can incorporate there, Craig?
Yeah, 100%. We've got lots of good feedback on that now already.
Yeah. So I think what I'm hearing is that we as a committee are happy with option 1 to continue with the current approach. While tightening contract management to improve performance. I think that's what I'm hearing from the committee from here. So I'm happy to propose. Ollie, if we all vote in favour of option 1, do we have to take the others? No. Okay. Thank you.
Option.
Okay. So I'm happy to propose option 1. That we continue with the current approach and whilst tightening contract management to improve performance. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Ellis, all those in favour? And that's carried, so we'll go with option 1. Thank you. Excellent.
Thank you. See you in 3 months.
So before we carry on, are we, would anybody like a 5-minute break?
How many more bits to go?
We've got, let's have a look, we've got destination budget, we've got community review, bus shelter cleaning, music at bandstand and road set, yeah. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, we've got 5 more. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm happy to, if anybody wants a 5-minute break.
Yes, please.
So can I suspend up standing orders? Oh, yes, no. I vote to suspend standing orders that we have a 5-minute break. I'll propose it and I'll second it. And all those in favour? Yes,